There's nothing like it that's ever been used before in the livestock industry. And I felt like it would help farmers and ranchers with their reproductive goals, both on the male side and the female side. That's kind of unheard of for technologies to kind of tackle both sides, while also not only reducing their labor, but their reliance on skilled labor as well.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast episode. For you that is part of our audience, thank you for tuning in again. For you that has not subscribed yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button somewhere in your screen to join the community and be updated on our latest content and the great conversations that we have here. As usual, we have some amazing guests with us. Today, we have Liane Hart sharing a little bit about her story and experiences in the animal health industry. Liane is the CEO and co-founder at Verility, a very cool and new technology in the testing space for animal semen and ovulation. And yeah, she's going to talk a lot about entrepreneurship, about challenges when you have startups and other cool stuff. Liane, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you. Liane and we had the opportunity to meet. I don't know, I think it's been like 3 years since we first met. And I remember you were really in early stages in your journey with Verility. And it seems like you guys have come a long way. And we would love to explore this today. And we would like to start by learning a little bit more about Liane. So if you want to share a little bit about your background.
Well, again, my name is Liane Hart, and I'm a co-founder and CEO of a company called Verility, which is an animal health diagnostic company that focuses on ovulation detection and semen analysis, specifically in the livestock segment. I actually grew up in southern Indiana in a town called Columbus. I went to Purdue University and received my bachelor's in animal sciences and a master's in animal breeding and genetics. I worked for Elanco Animal Health for about 17 years. In the areas of R&D, regulatory, new product planning, global marketing, and global launch leadership, while also running a thoroughbred breeding and racing business on my own. I decided in 2017 that I would move more fully into the training side of thoroughbred racing, but then was presented with the technology that stands behind Verility today, which had already been validated in humans at Harvard's Brigham Women's Hospital, specifically, again, for semen analysis and ovulation detection. I was asked at that time if there could be any application in animal health. And when I looked at it, and I thought to myself, yeah, most definitely. So we are currently working on a soft launch this year in the swine market. And it's been a fantastic ride. So I look forward to sharing more with you.
Just before we jump into the conversation, there's some sort of funny question that I like to ask to our guest speakers, which is, how would your parents describe what you do today?
Well, as I always say, I tell my friends and colleagues that my parents, they remind me of the Costanzas on Seinfeld. So if you remember the series Seinfeld,
yes.
Yeah, so that my parents are very much like that. So they're hilarious to be around all the time. So, when I've heard them talk about me to their friends and stuff, at other times, I've heard them say that Liane's making a gadget to help farmers breed their animals better. So the key word is gadget. So it's they do a good job. I think they get the gist of it, and they explain it to the best of their ability.
Wow, it's some sort accurate. I love the reference, Seinfeld. Yeah. Are you similar to George, or do you lie you're an architect by any chance when you're?
Yeah, maybe sometimes, but most of the time I'm probably Jerry.
Okay. You're in a better spot.
I'm in a better spot.
So, Liane, what exactly inspired you to transition from a long career at Elanco to founding Verility and focusing on this diagnostic part of things in livestock?
Well, breeding and genetics really is my trade. It's what fueled my master's degree and my first independent business, which was breeding and racing thoroughbreds, as I mentioned earlier. So having been presented with this technology back in 2017, 2018, by happenstance and a blessing, if you will, it made total sense to me. There's nothing like it that's ever been used before in the livestock industry. And I felt like it would help farmers and ranchers with their reproductive goals, both on the male side and the female side. That's kind of unheard of for technologies to kind of tackle both sides, while also not only reducing their labor, but their reliance on skilled labor as well. So to me, this was easy to assess coming right out of the gate. I had already felt the customer's pains. In fact, I felt like I am the customer. I was the customer when I had that lens on. So the people who would be using this have the same pains that I have had in my breeding and genetics background. So it worked out very well for me.
Okay, so you were in their shoes.
Very much so.
And you also shared that you have this extended background in research and development, regulation from the time you were at Elanco. How do you think these experiences influenced your approach to leading your startup today in the reproductive technology space?
I'd underscore the words a lot. I would say having experience in all the major areas of pharma, so R&D, regulatory, and commercial, have given me the confidence to set up plans that have a higher probability of success, knowing how to execute on those, and then knowing how to resolve issues along the way, all with great detail. You brought up kind of specifically R&D and regulatory. Those two areas really have taught me how to structure studies, QC data, read results, negotiate with the FDA. While our technology doesn't necessarily need an FDA approval timeline as a requirement for the livestock sector, everything else that I have learned in these areas has absolutely assisted me on how to approach the development and go-to-market strategies. These experiences have also given me the ability to assess different technologies in a variety of segments in a very detailed manner. So I truly feel like I've been building a long time for this outcome, and I don't know that I would have done as good of a job without those experiences.
Okay, interesting. And I have my next question here is more about the challenges you faced in this journey. But just before that, if you want to share a little bit more about the solution, about Verility's mobile device for semen and ovulation analysis, so our audience can understand how revolutionizing this can be, not just for humans, as we know that is being applied, but actually for livestock producers. And then also share a little bit more of the biggest challenges you faced in this journey and what did you do to overcome those challenges?
Right. So I would say that our technology, which we call Fertilize, is the only affordable, accurate, rapid, mobile, artificial intelligent device that can tell you when your livestock is ready to be bred. Talk about precision agtech and reproduction. I mean, it's very difficult to do. It analyzes, like I mentioned before, ovulation detection and semen quality using proprietary algorithms and protocols, as well as an advanced consumer electronics and microfluidics. I would say, from a challenge standpoint, nothing has ever been done like this before. So we were swimming in what my previous life would call blue ocean. When we would run into an issue, it was quite the undertaking to figure out what went wrong, because again, this has never been done before in this manner. So the question always stemmed from issues potentially arising from, is it the AI model? Is it the hardware? Is it the software? Or is it the biology of the animal? Or is it a combination of all of those things? It was always a significant undertaking of this kind of A/B side testing to ultimately determine cause and an all hands on deck approach to fix that. We have been absolutely relentless at tackling issues and striving for perfection under major time constraints. I think we have done an excellent job of coming from just an idea to having a validated POC for both ovulation detection and semen analysis, actually in both humans and swine. Many teams do not have the opportunity to make it this far, but we know there's still a road ahead. I mean, we get that. It's just nice to turn around every once in a while and smile at where we've been and what we've been able to accomplish. And that's hard to do when you're going so fast.
So basically, you're leveraging a whole new area or a new ocean, as you mentioned, a blue ocean. Not a lot of references of what is working, what is not working, and why those things are working. So it's pretty much an adventure, like it would be if you are alone in the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, there's a saying, I don't know, like entrepreneuring. It's like, I don't know, uh, driving a bus, but the bus has no wheel, no wheels. It's on fire and something like that. So,
Yes.
and thinking today about the company you're developing, lots of times when we're thinking about startups and new companies, new solutions, I think we tend to think about those mostly in the product side of things, right? We're thinking about the solution, the technology, how it's used. But running a business and making things happen is much more than that, right? When we last spoke, you shared a little bit more about the diversity in your team, about about the leadership aspects of your work. So you lead today a team with a lot of diversity, people with different backgrounds, different skill sets. How do you foster collaboration and leverage these differences to drive innovation in the company?
I think the way I try to foster it, and really each of the people on the team foster it as well, because we all do it together. We foster an open environment that has a good, I think, direct dialogue, and that would be meaning in scope and understanding. So I'm working with absolute geniuses who are experts in their specific fields. So, where each of us knows very little about the other person's field. This means that developing an understanding of each of our lingos has been key all along. We are constantly teaching each other about our respective areas and then knitting that together to determine next steps or how to resolve any issues. For as many tough discussions there are, especially when you're trying to decipher what their lingo is, what are they trying to say, and then in your brain you're trying to marrying it to what you know and how you think the issue should be solved. There are just as many, if not more, fun resolutions. So when we come together and put those puzzle pieces together, the resolutions not one of us could have come up with on our own. It was all because we worked on it collectively and from our respective areas. It can be downright tiring sometimes trying to understand the complexities of each of our areas. However, I think we are all much more polished because of it. So we have a very deep and profound respect for each other. I believe we all hold each other in very high regard. I have worked on many teams across the globe in my career. I mean, I think at one point I had 20 teams at a given time. With this particular team, I would want them with me in the trenches all the time. They have great character, problem solving skills, and they are super, super intelligent. To work with these people, oh my goodness, I can only hope that whatever they have rubs off on me at least a little bit. They are fantastic to work with, and it would not have come this far without them.
Well, two brains think better than one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think leadership is a lot about what you just described, right? Giving people the opportunity to be their best, and also find ways for them to collaborate for a better outcome. And it's incredible, like when we have the opportunity to work in such like good teams with good people, the amount of things that we're learning, even though we don't turn into experts in all these different aspects and areas, we learn a lot with our peers and people that are working with us. That's definitely a enriching experience. And Liane, another thing that we talked in the past was about like how you were actually, I think it was some sort of challenge you were facing because you were having to balance the product development aspect of the business with research, right? So how do you prioritize tasks and manage conflicts to, between those two arms of your business?
We have been in a very unique position where we need to conduct product development at the same time we're conducting our research. So same time, same studies. So this, as you can imagine, puts a lot of strain and pressure on the outcomes of a given study because we're running only one train at a time. Where normally in corporate America, these trains would be running in parallel and only intersect when it's most appropriate to do so. So for us, if either product development or research has some sort of an issue, it will absolutely affect the whole endeavor that we're working on. So, this means basically that we're constantly testing and looking at results from what I call the side studies that I mentioned earlier, as best as we can, while keeping spend down with major time constraints in order for us to focus on those larger deliverables, so these larger studies that gain us more ground. It's always a struggle, but we have learned to calculate which rocks may fall ahead of time and then are then able to minimize significant interruptions from those rocks. So it's really tough, but that's how we had to proceed as a startup. You don't always have the latitude or the privilege to have so much money and you can, operate on a grander scale. So I think we've done a really good job with the limitations that we've had.
So you touched in a very important point, especially for startups, the limited resources you have, especially when it comes to financial aspects, right? So what strategies do you employ to minimize those mistakes and make sure that you can quickly adapt when challenges arise?
Yeah, so I would take that two ways. I would look at it first, internally, within Virility. So we hold ourselves very accountable and keep a firm eye on our budget at all times. We all know what we signed up for from each of our respective areas and what we put into an overall plan and what we budgeted for that at the beginning. And then we just manage ourselves to that on a daily basis. So internally, we're very firm and accountable. Externally, it becomes a little bit tougher because you can't always control, vendors and consultants. So what we do is we make sure that when we ask for quotes from vendors and consultants, up front, that they are as explicit as possible with what we want. Once we align, let's say on a statement of work, we ask them to manage their work with just as much zealous as we oversee their work in a very detailed way. I am overseeing their work because I want to understand where we're at all the time. So I've learned to make sure that they have project managers on their side on every single call, that we always have meeting summaries from every single meeting, and that they're done right so that no one is confused on the other side of the fence or on, within our own team on what the goals are, what the actions should be, and then also having line of sight on current spend. So every meeting, it's like, how much money or how many hours have you spent? What do we have left? And we're constantly looking at that with everyone that we work with. So we have a line of sight on our expenditures internally and with third parties almost daily, if not weekly.
Okay, so having clear expectations on both sides, clear communication, documentation, very important, especially in those meetings. Okay, those are some important things. We are all the time dealing with customers here, and we all want to accomplish our missions and our objectives. So it's very important for us as well so every part knows where they are and where we're heading to. Liane, now getting back a little bit more into the solution, Virility's solution. You shared a little bit about how it works, the diagnostic aspect of your device, but when you look at the industry and you're comparing it to traditional lab equipment, what are the main differences you see here? And I know they're huge, but what are these main differences, and how do you see this new solution impacting agriculture industry?
So like I mentioned earlier, Fertilize is, it's a mobile device, um, and it's based off of automation from the AI itself, that the models that we've actually built. Um, and to me, it's like, and again, it's for semen analysis and ovulation detection, but we're entering the market with ovulation detection in swine fur, so in sows and gilts. But I always explain it, if I could paint a picture for someone, is it's like having a skilled lab technician in the palm of your hand. Um, so current practices today either use very expensive lab equipment, and this is really across species. This isn't just in swine. So pick a species, right? So they use either very expensive lab equipment or subjective kind of manual practices with highly skilled labor to get the job done. These reproductive activities are very difficult to do. I always say ovulation detection is like the holy grail. It's like that for women. It's like that for female livestock as well. So it may require, has in the past required many shots on goal to be successful. So many inseminations, many cycles lost because she didn't get pregnant. So I believe that we can provide just as much or even more edible meat protein into the food supply with using Fertilize, while also having the ability to use a genetically improved breeding population as a direct result of, using our technology to reduce costs and having an improved return on investment for the producer. I mean, there's really been no disruptions in this category for about 20 years. So it's pretty exciting to come out with something like this and invent something like this that is really needed in our industry and that still stays accurate, and can actually, we talk about sustainability in agriculture, we can actually use less animals to produce the same amount of meat protein that we do today. And that means you can use better genetically proven animals. You can use the higher rung, if you will, of animals because you need less. So it's a very it's an invention that I can't believe I've been able to put my hands on, to be honest.
That's awesome. Lots of people listening here today. They are in agriculture, but they're not necessarily in the production side of things. They might be marketing, salespeople within the supply chain or other organizations. So just to make it easier for us to picture the usual process of diagnosing the semen and ovulation aspects of the animals. You usually would have to go to a laboratory, so there's all sorts of time constraints, time you would have to take the samples to analysis, time for the lab to, analyze everything, get you back with the results, while basically you have now, as you mentioned, a lab on the palm of your hand. So it's probably way cheaper, I believe faster as well, and with great precision.
Yeah.
Is that a fair way to put it? Again, I'm not technical, so feel free to.
No, you said it great. The only thing I would add to that is that you need less skilled labor,
Which is very important.
Yeah, I mean, we're using veterinarians, we're using reproductive specialists, and to run the machines. For those of us that have to use the ultrasound machines or in semen analysis the CASA machines, that requires highly skilled labor. So yeah, I would say that we can lessen the need for that.
Liane, we're getting to the end of our conversation here. And as you have this very interesting background and you've been into this incredible journey, what piece of advice would you give to entrepreneurs, especially women who are looking at innovating, entrepreneuring in the tech and agricultural sectors?
As a woman to another woman, so all of you listen out there, ladies, don't ever be afraid to be an entrepreneur just because you're a woman. In fact, forget that you're a woman and just get out there and do your thing. Just lead, innovate, conquer, and know that you will absolutely pull on all the experiences that you've ever had. I find myself constantly in a room full of men, and I'm the only woman. In fact, my whole team is made up of men. So I really don't think of myself during meetings when we are building or resolving things together as, gee, I'm a woman and they're men, therefore. I actually don't even think about it. And I actually just enjoy working and learning from people who are extremely talented. That's all I care about. It doesn't matter to me. In fact, I want to win because we truly won, not because I was given a pass to be a woman. So I just want, I just want to be good. I want to be good as all of them. So with that being said, you still have to hustle and be creative and agile. This is a very intense and nimble game. You have to think on your feet, outside the box constantly. Also be prepared to have thick skin and a lot of perseverance. I think if you do this adventure right, then you can be in it for the long haul. So you have to try to figure out how to keep your endurance, your sanity, your humility all in check. So for me, I try to stay really close to God. I operate as if this is His invention and company, and I am stewarding and always trying to understand, what does He want me to do next. Takes the pressure less off of me. So before you tackle being an entrepreneur, I would say figure out your why. Why do you want to do this in the first place? And then understand that to your core, because it will constantly be tested. We talked about team earlier, always try to surround yourself with the right people. And if you haven't, figure that out fast and change the chessboard. You have the ability to change the chessboard. Having the wrong people dabbling in your efforts and affecting those outcomes will burn you, I think, every single time. Team is everything. I knew it when I started, but I didn't truly know to the degree until having been through all those ups and downs that have come our way, and then all of us kind of coming out of the tunnel together on the other side. That's how I knew I would go in the I would be in the trenches with this team. It's a team I would always want to work with. So you never know which of your teammates is going to have the game-changing solution. So always make sure you surround yourself with the right people.
It was a great conversation, and these last 2 minutes, I think just if we had just those last 2 minutes of advices, it would be worth already. Those were very, very interesting aspects. Sometimes we think of them of logical, but yeah, logical needs to be said. We need to say the logic things as well. So especially the team part. And Liane, for people who are interested in learning more about Verility, about the solution and the work you guys are doing, what are the best channels for them to connect, not only with the company and the solution, but also yourself?
Yeah, so I think that LinkedIn is a great place. And of course, our website, which is verilityco.com, meaning verilitycompany.com. Those would be the two best places. So feel free to reach out to me. Obviously, you can message me through LinkedIn. So feel free anytime. I'm open to any questions or any interaction that's out there.
Perfect. So for our listeners, Liane's name is around here in the screen, probably in the title of our episode. So you can make sure to, use it to look for her in LinkedIn. And Liane, thank you so much for sharing your story today with us. Sorry for my voice and everything. I caught a flu, so I'm a little bit blurred, but it was a really interesting conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I'm sure our audience took some good nuggets from it as well. And for our audience, thank you so much for tuning in and staying with us, and I hope to see you all on our next episode. Thank you. Bye.